I had no way out. You know, I felt trapped. 4 police officers surrounding me for asking a question. 4. Exactly this spot where we stood right now, this is where we were stood. I look and there's a police officer on a bike and she's trying to convince me that all I have to do is give my details and I'm free to go. So my mind is working. If I give my details, I'm telling these officers that I hate somebody, that I'm guilty of hatred, and I'm not guilty of hatred. You're finding me guilty?
Not guilty, no.
Oh, I'm not guilty, thank you.
We're not saying you're guilty.
We are recording an incident, a hate incident. In order to record,
I am not.
For your understanding,
I am not
wise for you
admitting
to listen
to something
so as we can
I
explain
haven't.
what's happening.
There's no doubt in my mind that the police had already found me guilty. I mean, if I'd have phoned the police and said there's a Muslim questioning me about my Bible and saying that, you know, the God of the Old Testament wanted to wipe out a whole town and I find that offensive, can you come and stop him asking? They'd have laughed at me. Yeah, I mean, if the police are so heavy-handed when it comes to something that is a non-crime, how heavy-handed are they going to be if it is a crime? This is Frederick Street in Rotherham, town centre. I was arrested at this spot for preaching the gospel, for questioning a lady, a Muslim lady, about the Qur'an, the Surah 4, verse 34. I don't hate Muslims. The reason I go out and preach the gospel is because of the love of Christ that, you know, changed my life. So if I love somebody, I want to speak the truth to them. I want to warn them. I want to challenge them because I believe that they need the Lord Jesus Christ. So no, I don't hate Muslims. I don't hate anybody. My motive is one of love, not hate. This is my usual spot, best spot when I can get. Some days you can't because there's too much traffic or preaching here. On the day I came, I preached a little round the corner, then I moved round, engaged with the Muslim lady. The Muslim lady in question had a stall offering information regarding domestic abuse within ethnic minorities. People will think that there has to be more to it, you know, but no, I asked a question. And all I asked was, how do you reconcile today what you're doing with the teachings of Muhammad and the Quran? I just said, are you a Muslim? And she smiled and nodded, yes. And I said, could I ask you that as a Muslim, you know, that Muhammad taught that a man could beat his wife, and, you know, how would you as a Muslim reconcile what you're doing today with that teaching? I could see, you know, I thought, well, it's not going to go far, this, but I just said, I just hope that, you know, I want to tell you that the Bible teaches us that a man is to love his wife as Christ loved the church, that he's to give his life for her. I said, and, you know, I'd hope that you'd look to the love and forgiveness that is in Jesus Christ. And I walked on. As I moved on, I walked with my banner. I always walk with my banner up. And people approach me as I'm walking. They'll ask questions, which is what I want. This may be 10, 15 minutes. And then all of a sudden, I turn around and there's a woman police officer on a bike next to me, telling me that I'm the man that fits the description, that I have caused somebody distress and anxiety. My mind is now spinning because I'm trying to think, where have I caused anybody stress or anxiety? And then she talked about this woman on the market. Then of course my mind, oh yeah, I remember that conversation, but to have caused stress and anxiety for asking a simple question seems a bit over the top. So now my head's spinning and she says, I need your details. Well, I'm thinking, well, I've done nothing wrong. I'm not going to give you my details because I've done nothing wrong. The world's gone mad.
This is the world we live in, and she's felt uncomfortable enough to come and tell a police officer, so I think it was your delivery.
I asked a simple question. Exactly this spot where we stood right now, this is where we were stood with a police officer, and she asked me to wait because they were going to call other officers. There were actually 4 officers that surrounded me in this area here. I think I was stood about here and there, around me here, trying to convince me that all I have to do is give my details and I'm free to go. So my mind is working. If I give my details, I'm telling these officers that I hate somebody, that I'm guilty of hatred, and I'm not guilty of hatred. So I asked that question. I say, officer, you know, I don't hate anybody, you know. I've done nothing wrong. And then the officer says, no, you haven't done anything wrong, which again, it throws your head spinning again, because they're telling me I've done something wrong, but now they're telling me I haven't done anything wrong. You know, trying to get your mind to process that is difficult.
Section 50 of Police Reform Act 2002 allows a uniformed police officer to require a person to provide their name and address if they have reason to believe that the person is or has been engaging in antisocial behaviour. That lady's flagged a police officer down and said that she's felt threatened by your manner. So for me, that's antisocial. This antisocial behaviour is defined as behaviour that causes or is likely to cause harassment, alarm or distress to one or more persons, which it has done, of not of the same household. Refusal to provide this information or providing a false, inaccurate name or address is an offence.
As far as I were concerned, if I give my details, I'm guilty. It's a frightening law that people can just say my feelings have been hurt. Police can come to you, surround you, try and pressure and bully you into giving a confession, basically. And, you know, we are even wanting your side of the story. They weren't interested in what I had to say. So they did arrest me. They marched me to the police car and drove me to the police station. And I just felt so disappointed that the people that are supposed to, you know, protect the rights and the freedoms of people were actually the ones that were only protecting, it seems, a certain group. You know, they talk about two-tier police, and I felt that's what it were. I felt this is just picking on me because of what I'm doing. They brought me into the courtroom, put me in the witness box, asked me for my details, and then they read out the charge. Again, which was very craftily put down, because they said that I weren't being charged for a non-hate crime. I was being charged for refusing to give my details. But actually, they read out all this hate speech. And then they said, how do you plead guilty or not guilty? But I said, not guilty. And if I could have had a picture of the faces of those in the courtroom, because they looked aghast. And then one of them spoke to my lawyer, and he said, this courtroom is only for those that are going to plead guilty. So they'd already sent me to a courtroom that only people that go to it plead guilty. Well, at first I thought, well, why did you ask me? Again, it feels like, as far as they're concerned, I'm guilty. They've already made their mind up. So they adjourned it. They moved us out of there and said, you'll have to go to another courtroom. And now, this judge, he said to the Crown Prosecutor, there's nothing in this file. There's no police statement. There's no witness statements. How can we move forward with this? There's no evidence. And then the Crown asked for an adjournment so they could decide whether they would continue with the prosecution. So then we left. I got another date to appear in the court on the 18th of August, and about a week ago I got a phone call from Christian Concern saying, isn't it wonderful news? And I said, what's wonderful news? So that I don't know what you're talking about. He said, they've dropped it. Everything's been dropped. You've been, you know, they're not prosecuting. So that was just a relief, the relief. I'm hoping that exposing this will cause the police to reconsider their conduct and how they're dealing with these issues, that they'll start using common sense, that they'll start treating people fairly and upholding everybody's freedoms and liberties. I'm hoping that people will see the danger of bringing in an Islamophobic or blasphemy law, because I think that if the police are so heavy-handed when it comes to something that is a non-crime, how heavy-handed are they going to be if it is a crime? I got no... They found me guilty, they prosecuted me, they sent me to a courtroom where you're supposed to say I'm guilty. So how's it going to be if the law's passed? It could be the final blow, and especially for us street preachers. Yes, it is good to be back out with the gospel. Once I got my banner up and engaged in a conversation or two, you know, and you get back into the groove, as it were, it felt good and it felt right, and I know it's right. And so yeah, I'm by God's grace, I'll be out there preaching the gospel as often as I can.